The simulation dome rose from the center of Station Meridian like a massive glass bubble. Inside, entire environments could be created using hard light and environmental controls. Forests, deserts, frozen wastelands, all perfect copies of real places across the galaxy. Today, the dome showed a dense forest with tall trees and thick undergrowth. Daewon stood with the other students at the edge of the simulation zone. They wore standard training suits, light armor that would protect them from serious injury but would register hits from the training weapons. Instructor Velthar moved along the line, checking each student's equipment. "The hunting trial is simple," Velthar announced. "You will enter the forest. A Vrax Hunter simulation will be released 30 seconds after you enter. Your goal is to survive for 10 minutes. The simulation is programmed to track, hunt, and capture prey using standard Virax hunting patterns. If you are caught, you fail." Yuri stood next to Daewon, trembling. "I heard that last year 3 students had panic attacks during this trial," she whispered. "You'll be fine," Daewon said. "Just remember what Velthar taught us. Hide, freeze, submit," Yuri recited like a prayer. The first group of students entered the dome. Daewon watched through the observation screen as they scattered into the forest. The Vrax simulation appeared moments later, a massive creature with golden fur and eyes that seemed to glow. It moved through the forest with terrifying grace, its head swinging back and forth as it searched. One by one, it found the prey species students. Most froze when they saw it, making themselves small. The Vrax would approach, circle them once, and then move on. A few students panicked and ran. The Vrax caught them within seconds, its powerful legs closing the distance before they could find cover. Each time, the student's suit would light up red, signaling capture. 10 minutes passed. 5 students survived. The success rate was average according to Velthar. "Next group," the instructor called. Daewon entered the dome with Hana, Taemin, and 3 other prey species students. The forest felt real. The air smelled of earth and leaves. Wind moved through the branches above, creating shadows that shifted and danced. 30 seconds, a voice announced from hidden speakers. "Split up," Hana whispered. "But stay close enough to signal." The other students looked at her strangely but nodded. As they scattered, Daewon noticed that the prey species students were already looking for hiding spots. One climbed a tree. Another burrowed under a pile of leaves. The third pressed itself against a large rock, trying to blend with the stone. Daewon moved deeper into the forest, but he did not hide. Instead, he studied the terrain. He found a small clearing with soft earth, noted which direction the wind was blowing, and identified several paths that led away from the area. "Simulation active," the voice announced. Somewhere in the forest, the Vrax was hunting. Daewon crouched low and began to move, not away from where he guessed the predator might be, but in a wide circle. He was tracking the tracker. He watched for disturbances in the undergrowth, listened for the sound of something large moving through the forest. He found the first sign 3 minutes in, a broken branch still green where it had snapped. The Vrax had passed through here recently, moving west. Daewon followed the trail. Through his earpiece, he heard a student's suit alarm go off. Captured. Then another. The Vrax was efficient. Daewon reached a narrow path between 2 large trees. He paused, thinking. Then he removed his jacket and hung it on a branch at chest height, arranging it so it looked like someone trying to hide behind the tree. He took several steps backward, carefully placing his feet, and then moved to a position about 10 meters away, behind a fallen log. He waited. The Virax appeared 2 minutes later. It was larger than he expected, even though he knew it was a simulation. It moved with the confidence of something that had never been prey. Its eyes locked onto the jacket. The creature approached slowly, its body low to the ground. When it was close enough to realize the jacket was empty, Daewon stood up. The Vrax's head snapped toward him. They locked eyes. Every instinct the prey species students had learned said to look away, to lower the gaze, to submit. Daewon stared directly into the simulated predator's eyes and did not blink. The Vrax paused. It was a small pause, less than a second, but it was there. The simulation had not expected this response. Prey did not challenge. Prey did not hold eye contact. Daewon took one slow step backward, still maintaining eye contact. Then another. He was leading the Vrax, making it follow him, controlling the direction of the encounter. The Vrax began to move toward him, faster now. Daewon turned and ran, but not in panic. He ran with purpose, following a path he had already scouted. The Vraks chased, powerful and fast. Day-Wan reached the clearing he had found earlier. The Vraks burst from the trees behind him. Day-Wan dodged to the side at the last moment, and the Vrax's momentum carried it several meters past him into the soft earth. Its paws sank slightly, just enough to slow it. Day-Wan was already moving again, circling back toward dense undergrowth. The Vraks recovered and pursued, but now Day-Wan was leading it through the most difficult terrain, places where the large predator had to slow down while Day-Wan, smaller and more agile, could maintain speed. 2 minutes remaining, the voice announced. Day-Wan could hear his heart pounding, but his mind was clear. This was not so different from hunting back home. Know the terrain. Use your advantages. Make the animal work harder than you. The Vraks was persistent, but Day-Wan noticed it was slowing. The simulation was programmed to behave realistically, and realistically even predators got tired. Day-Wan kept moving, never stopping long enough for the Vraks to close the distance, never moving so fast that he exhausted himself. Time complete. Trial ended. Day-Wan stopped running. The Vrak simulation froze mid-stride and then dissolved into light particles. He bent over, hands on his knees, breathing hard but alive. His suit showed green. He had survived. Outside the dome, silence filled the observation room. Day-Wan walked out to find every student staring at him. Velthar stood very still, his scaled face unreadable. You looked it in the eyes, Velthar said quietly. You challenged the predator directly. Yes, Day-Wan said. And you survived. Yes. That is not how prey survives. Day-Wan met his instructor's gaze. Maybe I'm not prey. Before Velthar could respond, Hana emerged from the dome, her suit also green. Taemin followed a minute later. All 3 humans had survived the trial. Of the other prey species students, only 1 had made it through. Velthar dismissed the class early. As the students filed out, Day-Wan heard them whispering. The prey species students seemed confused and frightened by what they had seen. They did not understand how someone could challenge a predator and live. In the corridor outside, a figure waited. He was massive, covered in golden fur with a thick mane around his neck. A real Vrax. Commander Wraith, according to the rank insignia on his uniform. I watched your trial, Wraith said. His voice was deep and rumbling. Interesting tactics for prey. Thank you, Day-Wan said carefully. Wraith's eyes narrowed. That was not a compliment. That was an observation. You behaved like a predator. You tracked, you set a trap, you controlled the encounter. He leaned closer. What are you really? Human, Day-Wan said. I have hunted across a dozen worlds, Wraith said. I know prey when I see it, and I know predators, he straightened. You are confusing. The records say you are prey, but my instincts say otherwise. Maybe your instincts are right, Hana said, stepping forward. Wraith looked at her, then at Taemin, then back to Day-Wan. I think I will review these records myself. Something is wrong with your classification. He walked away, his heavy footsteps echoing in the corridor. That was risky, Taemin said once the commander was gone. If he investigates humans seriously, he'll find out the truth. Good, Day-Wan said. Let him find out. Let them all find out, and then what? Taemin asked. We're outnumbered. If the predator species see us as competition instead of prey, what do you think happens? Day-Wan had no answer for that. That night, in the database archives, Commander Wraith began his research. He pulled up every file about Earth and humans. What he found disturbed him more than he wanted to admit. Persistence hunting. Tool creation. Pack coordination. Historical records of humans hunting megafauna to extinction. Videos of humans running for hours without stopping, chasing prey until the animal's heart gave out from exhaustion. Wraith watched a documentary about human warfare. Weapons that could destroy cities. Tactics that involved patience measured in years. A species that had climbed to the top of their world's food chain not through strength, but through intelligence and the refusal to ever give up. He closed the files and sat in darkness. The galaxy had made a terrible mistake. Humans were not prey. They were something far worse. They were patient predators, the kind that never stopped hunting until they won. But the hunting instinct is still there, buried beneath civilization. The Grand Arena sat at the heart of Station Meridian, a massive structure that could hold 50,000 spectators. Once a year, the station hosted the exhibition of prowess, a demonstration where predator species showed their hunting abilities to the galaxy. It was meant to be educational, a reminder to prey species of the natural order. It was also entertainment for those who enjoyed watching displays of power. Instructor Velthar had made attendance mandatory for all students in the survival program. "You need to understand what you face," he had said. "You need to see true predators in action." Day-1 sat with the other human students in the prey species section, surrounded by thousands of nervous prey species citizens. The predator species sat across the arena in their own section, confident and loud. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation. The exhibition began with a Vrax demonstration. 3 Vrax hunters were released into the arena floor, where automated drones shaped like prey animals scattered. The drones ran at full speed, their movements programmed to mimic real prey behavior. The Vrax moved like fluid gold, working together to corner and capture the drones one by one. The crowd roared with approval. Next came the Thane. A single massive Thane hunter faced drones designed to fight back, equipped with defensive measures. The Thane simply powered through every defense, its strength overwhelming. When it roared in victory, the arena shook. "This is horrible," Yuri whispered beside Day-1. She had asked to sit with the humans, finding their presence somehow calming despite her fear of their predatory behavior. "It's a show," Hana said. "They're demonstrating dominance." "It's working," Minji added quietly. Every prey species around them was shrinking into their seats, making themselves small. The final demonstration was scheduled to be the Krell. The insectoid hunters were considered the most frightening because of their patience and precision. 2 Krell were released into an environment that mimicked a dense jungle. The drones were given places to hide. The arena lights dimmed to simulate twilight. The Krell moved through the artificial jungle like living shadows. Their compound eyes could detect the slightest movement. One by one, they found the hidden drones and dispatched them with their razor-sharp limbs. The crowd watched in silent horror. Then something went wrong. An alarm blared through the arena. Red lights flashed along the walls. The automated voice of the station's safety system announced, "Barrier failure. Section 7. Emergency protocols initiated." One of the Krell had somehow damaged the energy barrier that separated the arena floor from the spectator sections. Sparks flew from the barrier generator, and a gap appeared in the shimmering wall of energy. The Krell noticed immediately. Its head swiveled toward the opening, toward the thousands of prey species sitting just beyond. For a moment it seemed like the creature was calculating, deciding. Then it moved. The Krell burst through the gap and into the prey species seating section. Panic erupted instantly. Prey species scattered in every direction, screaming, pushing, trampling each other in their terror. The Krell advanced, its movements jerky and aggressive. Whether it was malfunctioning or simply following its instincts no longer mattered. It was in the crowd and people were in danger. Security forces began rushing toward the breach, but they were too far away. The Krell would reach the fleeing prey species long before help arrived. Day-1 saw Yuri frozen in her seat, paralyzed by fear. Other prey species were running past her, but she could not move. The Krell was heading in her direction, its multiple legs carrying it up the stairs with terrible speed. Day-1 did not think. He acted. He jumped from his seat and ran toward the Krell, not away from it. He grabbed a metal support rail that had been torn loose during the panic and ripped it free from its mounting. The rail was about 2 meters long and heavy in his hands. "Hey!" Day-1 shouted at the Krell. The creature's head snapped toward him. Its compound eyes reflected his image 1,000 times. Around him, prey species were still fleeing. But Hana had followed Day-1's lead. She was helping people evacuate, directing them toward the exits with quick, efficient commands. Taemin appeared on the other side, throwing pieces of debris to distract the Krell, keeping its attention divided. The Krell advanced on Day-1. It was massive up close, its exoskeleton gleaming like black armor. Its limbs ended in points sharp enough to pierce metal. Every instinct told him to run, to look away, to submit like prey species were supposed to do. Instead, Day-1 looked directly into its 1,000 eyes and roared. It was a human challenge display, something buried deep in evolutionary memory. The sound was raw and aggressive, full of threat and fury. It said without words, "I am not prey. I am dangerous. Back away." The Krell stopped. It was only for 3 seconds, maybe less. But in those 3 seconds, the Krell's programming or instincts or whatever guided its actions, encountered something it did not expect. Prey did not challenge. Prey did not stand their ground and make threat displays. Security forces arrived in those 3 seconds. They hit the Krell with stun weapons powerful enough to drop it instantly. The creature collapsed, its legs folding beneath it. Day One stood there, chest heaving, the metal rail still in his hands. Around him, prey species were staring. Not just at the fallen Krell, but at him. He had done what prey never did. He had challenged an apex predator directly and lived. The aftermath was chaos. Medical teams treated the injured, mostly prey species, who had been hurt in the panic rather than by the Krell itself. Security teams investigated how the barrier had failed. Station administrators issued statements about safety, protocols, and guarantees that such an incident would never happen again, but what everyone was really talking about was the human who had faced down the Krell. The incident had been broadcast throughout the station. Cameras had caught everything. Within hours, the footage was spreading across the galaxy. News networks picked it up. Discussion forums exploded with debate. Day One's comm device would not stop buzzing with messages. Most were from other humans supporting what he had done. Some were from prey species, ranging from admiration to accusation that he had made things worse by provoking the Krell. A few were from predator species, and those messages were different. They were curious, respectful. Some even seemed concerned. "You've become famous," Taman said that evening. They were gathered in Day One's quarters, all 5 human students plus Yuri, who had insisted on coming to thank Day One personally. "I didn't mean to," Day One said. "Doesn't matter," Jiwoo said. "The galaxy saw a prey species stand up to a predator. That changes things." "How?" Minji asked. "I don't know yet," Jiwoo admitted, "but it changes things." Yuri spoke quietly from her seat near the door. "You saved my life. I was frozen. I couldn't move, and you ran toward the danger instead of away from it." She looked at him with her large dark eyes. "Why?" "Because that's what humans do," Hana said before Day One could answer. "We protect each other. We protect those who can't protect themselves, even if it means putting ourselves in danger." "Prey species do that too," Yuri said. "Not like this," Taman said. "Prey species will protect their young or their family. But charging at a predator to save a stranger? That's different." Yuri was quiet for a moment. "You're not prey, are you?" "Not really." The humans looked at each other. The secret was already crumbling. The hearing before the Galactic Council was scheduled for next week, and now the entire galaxy was watching humans with new eyes. "No," Daewon said finally. "We're not prey. Then what are you?" Yuri asked. "We're human," Hana said. "And that's complicated." Across the station in his office, Commander Wraith watched the footage of the arena incident for the 15th time. He watched Daewon charge at the Krell. He watched the roar, the challenge display, the 3 seconds where the Krell hesitated. He had been right. Humans were not prey, but watching the footage filled him with something unexpected. Not anger or competitive fury, which he might have felt toward a rival predator, but something closer to respect. The human had not acted out of hunting instinct. He had acted to protect someone weaker. That was not predator behavior. Predators did not risk themselves for prey that was not their own offspring. Wraith pulled up more files on human behavior. Social structures, altruism studies, records of humans risking their lives to save others, even strangers, even members of different species. Humans were predators, yes. Apex predators with patience and intelligence that surpassed most species. But they were also something else, something that did not fit neatly into the galaxy's categories. They were predators who had learned to care about prey. Instructor Velthar arrived at Wraith's office an hour later. The reptilian instructor looked troubled. "I have been teaching humans for months," Velthar said. "I taught them as prey." "But they are not prey." "No," Wraith agreed. "What are they?" Velthar asked. "I don't know," Wraith said honestly. "But I think the galaxy is about to find out." The hearing was scheduled for 6 days from now. Wraith had his evidence prepared. The arena incident had given him even more material to present. The council could no longer ignore what humans were, but Wraith found himself uncertain about what would happen next. The galaxy's order was built on the division between predator and prey. Everything from laws to social structures to trade agreements assumed this. The lecture hall stretched wide and tall, filled with students from dozens of worlds. Daewon sat near the back, his notebook open on the desk before him. Around him, creatures of every shape whispered nervously to each other. Some had fur, others had scales. and a few seemed to shimmer with colors he had no names for. Instructor Velthar entered through the main door. He was tall and covered in dark green scales that caught the light. His eyes were positioned on the sides of his head, giving him a wide view of the room. He moved with careful, measured steps. Every student fell silent. "Welcome to Survival Tactics," Velthar said. His voice was smooth and cold. "You are here because your species has been classified as prey. This is not an insult. It is simply reality. In this galaxy there are those who hunt, and those who survive being hunted." Daewon glanced at Hana, who sat 2 seats away. She caught his eye and gave a small shrug. Neither of them felt like prey, but the Galactic Council had made their decision. Humans were new to the wider galaxy, and the classification had been stamped into their files 3 months ago. "There are 12 rules of survival," Velthar continued. He tapped a button on his wrist device and words appeared on the large screen behind him. Rule 1, never look a hunter in the eyes. Eye contact is a challenge. Prey does not challenge. Prey survives by avoiding confrontation. A student near the front raised a thin, trembling arm. It was Yuri, a Kinari with soft purple fur and large, dark eyes. "What if the hunter has already seen us?" "Then you freeze," Velthar said. "You make yourself small. You submit." Most hunters lose interest in prey that does not run. Running triggers the chase instinct. Daewon felt something uncomfortable settle in his chest. He raised his hand. Velthar's gaze shifted to him. "Yes, Cadet Daewon?" "You said never look them in the eyes," Daewon said slowly. "But then how do they learn fear?" The room went completely silent. Several students turned to stare at him. Yuri's eyes went even wider, and she leaned away as if his words might bring danger to her. Velthar's scaled face showed no expression, but he stood very still for a moment. "Fear is not something prey teaches to predators, Cadet. Fear is what keeps prey alive. You fear them. They do not fear you. That is the natural order, but what if—" "There is no what if," Velthar interrupted. His voice remained calm, but there was an edge to it now. "You are human. You come from a world that was surveyed and classified. Your species has no natural weapons. No claws, no venom, no armored skin. You are small and soft. The Council has placed you in this program so you can learn to survive. I suggest you listen." Daewon wanted to say more, but Hana caught his eye and shook her head slightly. He closed his mouth and looked down at his notebook. The lecture continued. Velthar explained the different types of hunters in the galaxy. The Vraks were the most common, large and powerful, with thick manes and teeth designed to tear flesh. They hunted in prides and could run at incredible speeds. The Krell were insectoid, with compound eyes and razor-sharp limbs. They were patient and could wait motionless for hours before striking. The Thane were massive, covered in thick fur and muscle, strong enough to crush bones with a single blow. Each of these species has earned their position as apex predators. Velthar said, "They have evolved over millions of years to hunt and kill. Your job is not to fight them. Your job is to not be noticed." After class, Daewon walked with Hana and another human student named Taemin through the station's corridors. The walls were made of smooth metal, and large windows showed the stars beyond. Other students moved past them, giving them curious looks. "You shouldn't have asked that question," Taemin said quietly. He was shorter than Daewon, with sharp eyes that seemed to notice everything. "It made us stand out." "Everything about us makes us stand out," Hana said. "Did you see how they looked at us? Like we're broken somehow." Daewon stopped walking and turned to face them. "Doesn't it bother you? All this talk about hiding and freezing and submitting." "Of course it bothers me," Hana said. "But we're the new species here. We don't make the rules." "Maybe we should," Daewon muttered. They reached the cafeteria, a large open space filled with tables and the smell of food from 100 different worlds. Most prey species sat together in tight groups, talking in low voices. Predator species sat at separate tables, larger and louder, laughing and showing teeth. Daewon grabbed a tray and moved through the line. He picked foods that looked familiar enough, though nothing was quite like Earth food. When he sat down, Yuri approached their table slowly. "May I sit with you?" she asked, her voice small. "Sure," Hana said, gesturing to an empty seat. Yuri sat down carefully, her movements quick and nervous. "I wanted to ask you something. In class today, when you asked that question about fear, did you really mean it?" Daewon nodded. "Yeah, where I come from, predators avoid things that fight back." Even if you're smaller, if you make yourself dangerous, they'll usually look for easier prey. Yuri's ears flattened against her head. But that's not how it works here. Fighting back just makes them angry. It makes them hunt you harder. Maybe, Day One said. Or maybe nobody's really tried. Taemin leaned forward. I looked up the statistics. Prey species that fight back have a 7% survival rate. Prey species that hide or submit have a 42% survival rate. Those numbers are still terrible, Hana said. They're realistic, Taemin replied. We're at the bottom of the food chain. That's just how it is. Daewon disagreed, but he kept quiet. He thought about Earth, about the way humans had hunted for thousands of years, not with claws or teeth, but with patience and tools and the ability to track prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. Humans had been apex predators on their own world. Every continent had felt their presence. Animals that had never seen humans before learned to fear them within generations. But here in this galaxy, humans were classified as prey. The survey team had visited Earth, seen peaceful cities and farms, and made their decision. They had missed the history, the weapons, the long record of humans hunting everything from rabbits to whales. That evening, Daewon stood at the window of his quarters, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there were the Vrax and the Krell and the Thane, the hunters, the apex predators who believed prey should look away and submit. He thought about Velthar's words, never look a hunter in the eyes. But Daewon had looked into the eyes of predators before. He had hunted deer in the mountains back home, had faced down an aggressive dog once when he was young. Looking away was surrender. Looking directly was a challenge, yes, but it was also a message, I see you. And I am not afraid, his door chimed. Hana entered without waiting for permission, followed by Taemin. We need to talk, Hana said. I've been thinking about what you said, about making them understand fear. And? Daewon asked. And maybe you're right, she said. Maybe the galaxy got us wrong. But if we're going to prove that, we need to be smart about it. We can't just challenge every predator we see. Taemin nodded. The hunting trials start next week. That's our chance. We show them that humans are different. Not through words, through action. Daewon smiled slowly. So we don't hide. We don't hide, Hana agreed. We hunt. The Galactic Council chambers orbited a neutral star, far from any homeworld. It was designed to be impartial, a place where every species could meet on equal ground. The building itself was a marvel of engineering, a massive ring that rotated slowly to create artificial gravity. At its heart was the assembly hall, where representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to make decisions that affected trillions of lives. Daewon had never felt so small as when he entered the hall. The ceiling stretched impossibly high above him. Tier upon tier of seats rose in all directions, each one filled with a representative from some distant world. Prey species sat in one half of the chamber, predator species in the other. The division was absolute and ancient. He walked to the center floor with Hana beside him. Behind them came Taemin, Jiwoo, and Minji. Commander Wraith stood near the presentation platform, his golden fur gleaming under the chamber lights. Instructor Velthar sat in the observers section, his expression unreadable. The council speaker, a tall being covered in silver feathers from a neutral species, called the session to order. We are here to examine the classification of the human species. Commander Wraith has presented evidence suggesting humans have been incorrectly classified as prey. The council will hear testimony and review evidence before making a determination. Wraith stepped forward to the presentation platform. Holographic displays activated around him, floating in the air so every representative could see clearly. Members of the council, Wraith began. I have spent months investigating the human species. What I found has convinced me that we made a critical error in our classification. Humans are not prey. They are apex persistence predators. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Several prey species representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. A few predator species representatives leaned forward with interest. Wraith displayed images of early humans hunting across open plains. Humans evolved as pursuit predators. They lack the speed of Vrax, the strength of Thane, or the natural weapons of Krell. But they have something else. Endurance beyond measure. The hologram showed a human runner chasing an animal across a vast grassland. Human persistence hunting works like this. The prey runs. It is faster than the human, so it escapes easily. But humans do not give up. They track the prey. They follow it for hours, then days. The prey must rest. It must cool down. It must drink. The human never stops. Eventually, the prey's heart gives out from exhaustion. The human walks up to an animal that can no longer run and claims its victory. A Thane representative stood. He was massive, his fur dark and his voice deep. This is impressive endurance, but it does not make them predators. Many species can run for long distances. Can they coordinate while doing it? Wraith asked. He showed videos of human hunters working in groups, communicating across vast distances, setting up ambush points while others drove the prey toward them. Humans hunt in packs with tactical precision that rivals any predator species. They plan hunts that take place over multiple days. They create weapons that extend their reach and power. The hologram shifted to show human tools, stone spears, bows and arrows, modern weapons that could strike from kilometers away. But the most telling evidence, Wraith said, is their history. Humans were not always peaceful farmers. For most of their existence, they were hunters, and they were extraordinarily successful. He displayed archaeological records. Everywhere humans spread on their homeworld, megafauna disappeared. Giant sloths, cave bears, mammoths, saber-toothed cats. Dozens of species went extinct shortly after humans arrived in their territories. This is the mark of an apex predator. They eliminated competition and prey until only humans remained at the top. A prey species representative, a small creature with large eyes and soft fur, spoke in a trembling voice. If this is true, why did they not hunt us when we made first contact? Why do they live in peaceful cities now? Because they evolved, Wraith said. They became intelligent enough to choose peace. But the instinct remains. Watch this. The chamber filled with footage from the arena incident. Day 1 charging at the Krell, the roar, the challenge display. The 3 seconds of hesitation. Prey does not challenge, Wraith said. Prey submits or flees. This human saw a predator and responded with aggression, not to hunt it, but to protect others. This is apex predator behavior combined with pack loyalty. It is both terrifying and admirable. He turned to face Day 1 directly. I believe humans are the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. Not because they are the strongest or fastest, but because they never stop, and they have learned to control their hunting instincts, to direct them toward protection rather than destruction. That makes them unpredictable, unique. The speaker gestured to Day 1. The human will now testify. Cadet Day 1, please approach. Day 1 walked to the center of the platform. Thousands of eyes watched him. He had prepared what he wanted to say, but standing here under all this scrutiny, the words felt inadequate. My name is Day 1, he began. I am human, and Commander Wraith is right. We are not prey. The chamber erupted in noise. Prey species representatives spoke over each other in alarm. Predator species representatives demanded order. The speaker restored silence. Explain. Humans hunted for survival, Day 1 said. We developed tools because we had no claws. We learned endurance because we were not fast. We coordinated in groups because individually we were weak. Every advantage we have came from necessity. He gestured to the holographic displays showing ancient human hunters. My ancestors chased animals until they died of exhaustion. They tracked prey for days without rest. They hunted creatures that could kill them with a single blow and won through patience and intelligence. Then you admit you are predators. A Thane representative said. We were predators, Day 1 corrected. But we became something else. We learned that hunting everything to extinction meant we would starve. We learned that cooperation was more valuable than competition. We chose to build civilizations instead of living as pure hunters. Hana stepped forward to stand beside him. But the instinct is still there. When Day 1 saw the Krell in the arena, his first thought was not to run. It was to fight, to protect, to challenge. That is the predator in us. But the reason he acted was to save someone weaker. That is the civilization we built on top of our predatory nature. You are hybrids, Veltar said from his seat, his voice carrying across the chamber. Neither prey nor predator. Both and neither. Maybe, Taman said, stepping forward to join the others. Or maybe those categories are too simple. The galaxy divides everyone into hunter or hunted. But humans prove there's a third option. We can be hunters who choose not to hunt, predators who protect prey. That violates the natural order, of Rack's representative said, does it? Jiwoo asked. Or does it expand it? The natural order says predators hunt prey, but humans show that predators can also choose to guard prey, to work with prey, to build something better than constant hunting. And what happens when you decide to stop choosing peace? A prey species representative asked. What happens when humans decide to hunt again? It was the question Daewon had been dreading. Because it was fair. If humans were capable of being apex predators, what stopped them from becoming a threat? Nothing stops us except ourselves, Daewon said honestly. And that is terrifying, I know. But every intelligent species has that choice. The Vrax could choose to hunt prey species. The Thane could choose to dominate through strength. The Krell could choose to be monsters. But you don't. Not because you can't, but because you built laws and societies and chose a better way. He met the eyes of the council speaker. Humans make the same choice every day. We are predators who choose peace. And if that makes you uncomfortable, I understand. But it is the truth. The chamber fell into silence. Representatives consulted with each other in hushed voices. Data streams flowed between tablets as they reviewed the evidence again. Finally, the speaker stood. The council requires time to deliberate. This hearing is recessed until... An alarm cut through his words. Red lights flashed along the chamber walls. A communication officer rushed to the speaker's platform and whispered urgently in his ear. The speaker's feathered crest rose in alarm. We have received an emergency transmission. The colony world Talos 4 is under attack by Vrax Dominion forces. The attack was unprovoked. Civilian populations are in danger. Chaos erupted in the chamber. The Vrax Dominion was a splinter faction. Predators who rejected the council's authority and believed in the old ways of hunting prey freely. They had been quiet for years, but now they had launched an assault. We need to respond immediately, a military commander said, standing from the Predator section. Deploy defensive forces to Talos 4. How many ships can we mobilize in the next hour? The speaker asked. 12 cruisers, perhaps 15 if we rush. That won't be enough, someone said. The Dominion hit Talos 4 with at least 30 vessels. The council descended into argument. Prey species demanded protection. Predator species military commanders tried to formulate a response. Everyone spoke at once and nothing was being decided. Daewon felt Hana touch his arm. He turned to see her looking at the other human students. They all had the same expression. They knew what needed to be done. We volunteer, Daewon said loudly. The chamber went quiet. Hana spent 3 nights in the Academy archives before she found what she was looking for. The archives were vast, containing information about every known species in the galaxy. Most of it was public, available to any student who wanted to learn about the diversity of life beyond their homeworld. But some files were restricted, marked with security levels that required special permission to access. The human files were marked Level 3, not the highest security, but high enough that they were not meant for casual browsing. Hana had borrowed access credentials from a maintenance worker who owed her a favor. She felt guilty about the deception, but she needed to know the truth. Something about humanity's classification as prey had never felt right. She found the initial survey report first. It had been conducted by a Kinari exploration team, the same species as Yuri. They had approached Earth cautiously, observing from orbit before sending down scouts. Their report was filled with notes about human settlements, agriculture, and what they called surprisingly peaceful social structures for a species with forward-facing eyes. The report concluded that humans were prey species who had developed intelligence as a survival mechanism. Like many prey species, they lived in groups for protection and had learned to grow food rather than hunt for it. The survey team noted that humans had no natural weapons and seemed physically weak compared to most sentient species. But then Hana found the restricted files. These were the documents the survey team had not included in their official report, or perhaps they had not found them at all. Historical records, archaeological data, evolutionary biology studies. Humans had not always been peaceful farmers. For most of their existence, they had been hunters. Not ambush predators like the Vrax or the Krell, but something different. Something the galaxy had never seen before. Persistence predators. Hana read about how early humans had hunted animals by chasing them for hours, sometimes days, across open plains. The prey would run until exhaustion killed it. Humans would track it, following signs invisible to most other species, and they would never stop. Not for weather, not for darkness, not until the hunt was finished. She found records of human tribal warfare, of weapons crafted with precision, of hunting techniques that required groups to coordinate over vast distances. She found stories of humans hunting creatures 10 times their size and winning through patience and planning. The more she read, the clearer it became. The galaxy had not classified humans as prey because they were weak. The galaxy had classified humans as prey because they had been caught during a moment of peace. The survey team had seen cities and farms and assumed that was all humans were. They had missed 10,000 years of hunting history. Hannah downloaded the files onto a secure device and left the archives. The station's corridors were quiet this late at night. Most students were asleep, and even the predator species students had retreated to their quarters. She went to Daewon's room first. He answered the door quickly, as if he had been awake. "I found something," Hannah said. "Come in." She entered and pulled out her device. Taemin was already there, sitting at the small desk with a tablet in his hands. 2 other human students were present as well. Jiwoo, a tall young man with careful eyes, and Minji, who had sharp features and a mind that worked like a blade. "You all need to see this," Hannah said. She showed them everything: the hunting records, the videos of humans running across continents, the documents about tool use and weapon development, the archaeological evidence of humans hunting mammoths, giant sloths, and dozens of other megafauna species to extinction. "We're not prey," Minji said quietly when the presentation ended. "We never were." "The survey team made a mistake," Jiwoo added. "They saw what we chose to show the galaxy, peace and civilization. They didn't look deeper." "So what do we do?" Taemin asked. "Do we tell them?" "Tell them what?" Daewon said. "That we've been lying?" "We haven't been lying," Hannah said. "We just haven't corrected their mistake." "That's the same thing," Minji said. They argued for an hour. Minji wanted to reveal the truth immediately, to demand reclassification and respect. Jiwoo worried that would make humans targets, that predator species would see them as competition or threats. Taemin thought they should continue as they were, using the prey classification as camouflage. "We're already standing out," Daewon said. "After the hunting trial, everyone is talking about humans. Commander Wraith is investigating us. Hiding the truth isn't going to work much longer." "Then we need to control how the truth comes out," Hannah said. "We show them gradually. We make them understand through actions, not through declarations." "How?" Jiwoo asked. "We keep doing what we're doing," Hannah said. "We train. We succeed in ways prey species don't. We make them question their assumptions, and when the time is right, we prove what we are." It was not a perfect plan, but it was a plan. The next morning, during breakfast in the cafeteria, Yuri approached their table again. She looked nervous, as always, but there was something else in her expression. Curiosity. "Can I ask you something?" Yuri said. "Sure," Daewon replied. "Why do you act like predators?" Yuri asked. "In class, in the trials, everywhere. You don't behave like prey species. It frightens the other students. It frightens me sometimes." Hannah glanced at Daewon. They had agreed not to reveal what they had learned. Not yet. But Yuri deserved some kind of answer. "Where we come from," Daewon said carefully, "survival meant different things. We didn't have claws or venom, so we learned to use tools. We couldn't run fast, so we learned to run long. We couldn't hide well, so we learned to work together." "But that sounds like prey species adaptation," Yuri said. "Maybe," Hannah said. "Or maybe it sounds like predator adaptation. The line isn't always clear." Yuri sat down without asking permission this time. "I watched the recordings of your hunting trial. All the prey species students watch them now. You did things we're taught never to do. You looked at the wracks. You led it instead of running away. You controlled the hunt." "And we survived," Taemin said. "But at what cost?" Yuri asked. "If other predators see humans acting this way, they might decide you're a threat. They might decide to eliminate that threat." "Let them try," Minji said. Yuri's ears flattened. "You don't understand. The galaxy has rules. Prey species are protected. We have laws and councils that prevent predator species from hunting us freely. But those protections only work if we stay in our role. If you make predators see you as equals or rivals, you lose that protection. It was a good point, one they had not fully considered. What would you do? Daewon asked. If you were us? Yuri thought for a long moment. I would be careful. The galaxy is old and its ways are set. Change comes slowly here. If you push too hard, too fast, you might break something important. She left after that, her food barely touched. Meanwhile, in his office, Commander Wraith continued his investigation. He had spent days reviewing human files, and what he found disturbed him more with each passing hour. He brought his findings to other Vrax officers, but they dismissed his concerns. They have no claws, one said. They have no natural armor, another added. They build weapons, Wraith countered. Advanced weapons, and they have a hunting methodology that requires patience we cannot match. Patience is not power, the first officer said. A Vrax can kill a human with one strike. If the human is standing still, Wraith said. But what if it never stands still? What if it tracks you for days until you're too exhausted to fight? The officers laughed. Then we find it and kill it. Simple. Wraith did not laugh. He had spent his life hunting. He understood predator-prey dynamics better than most. And what he saw in the human records was not prey behavior. It was apex predator behavior, hidden beneath a peaceful exterior. He decided to bring his concerns to the Galactic Council directly. If his fellow Vrax would not listen, perhaps the Council would. 2 weeks later, Wraith stood before the Council chambers. It was a massive space with representatives from dozens of species seated in circular tiers. Prey species sat in one section, predator species in another. The distinction was absolute. Commander Wraith, the council speaker said, you have requested an emergency session to discuss the classification of the human species. Proceed. Wraith stepped forward. I believe humans have been misclassified. They are not prey. They are apex persistence predators. Murmurs filled the chamber. Several prey species representatives looked terrified. Predator species representatives seemed amused. Explain, the speaker said. Wraith presented his evidence, the hunting records, the endurance data, the weapon development history, the archaeological proof of humans hunting megafauna to extinction on their homeworld. They do not hunt like we do, Wraith said. They do not ambush or chase until the prey escapes. They hunt by never stopping. They track prey for days, across any terrain, through any weather. The prey runs until it dies. The human follows until it wins. A Thane representative stood. He was enormous, covered in thick brown fur. This is absurd. Humans are small and weak. They have no natural weapons. They make weapons, Wraith said, from stone to nuclear fire. And they hunt in coordinated packs that communicate across vast distances. Then why do they live in peaceful cities? A prey species representative asked. Why do they farm instead of hunt? Because they evolved, Wraith said. They became intelligent enough to choose peace.